Me. Welcome back to Nikolai's Comic Corner, Classicless Non-Classic. This is episode number 2642, Doubleshot 2536. I had the last series I checked out, which I only checked out just a few days ago. You're like, really? All done already? Yeah, I only checked out 6 because for some stupid reason it's to shorten out from 12 to 6. I do not know why they did this for. I thought it was quite stupid. Hope at some point someone realizes, though, yeah, having check out only 6 is kind of dumb. So, first thing we have is Superman, Dark Knight over Metropolis. Yep. This is basically across for all the Superman books. And you're thinking, because Batman's here, does it evolve in Bat books? Nope. No, it does not. Dark Knight Metropolis collects Action Comics and number 1. Avengers Superman 466 and 467 Action Comics. Action Superman 464 Action Comics 653, 654 and Superman Volume 2 number 44. Yes, the annual is done by John Byrne at Skeeter. He's writing the book and Art Ames is the artwork. Limits of Power is done by Dan Jurgens, who he pretty much does the Avengers Superman issues. Love and Death, and of course, who does Action Comics? Roger Stern. Anything who does Superman Volume 4? Jerry Ordway, he also does the artwork for that one too. Action Comics artwork is done by Brent Beating, that's 63, and 64, obviously. Dan Jurgens writes and draws Avengers Superman. So, Skinner is just basically it's basically the second ever team between, at this point up, Superman and Batman. We got this one girl with this Peanuts shirt on. Well, actually more like the standard Peanuts logo. That's not her shirt. Yeah, they're basically after this girl. And, like, after her the whole story, she apparently has got, like, her parents there who are corpses. It's this weird story you have Clark Kent, looks like Clark Kent basically wearing a mustache for some reason while he's on the cover. And then we have Batman where, wow, it's like basically Art Adams basically know what he like. They look at this costume when he's drawing this one panel. It looks like Dark Knight Rises. It looks like Dark Knight Returns Batman. Yes. Plus, of course, you can see like part of his eyes. Like, what in the world? It's almost like we're reading this like, yeah, this is definitely Batman, but it's almost like in some panels like, is this a cosplayer dressed up as Batman because his mask is so big? Of course, he's got tiny bat ears. Of course, this one investigating murder and just Superman had just happening involved in this one, which is interesting. It's supposed to be just a quick little murder mystery. It doesn't really affect much of the story, but the only reason why I threw it in here because it's a Batman Superman story, and of course the girl is like this weird creature. Sally gets destroyed by Batman, but yeah, she's a vampire. Then we go on to Action Comics 466. Where this is the book that has the debut of Hank Henshaw and the Crew Excalibur. Yeah, this is mostly Dan Jurgens basically doing a version of Fantastic Four for DC Comics. This is basically a special Excelsior, which I'm sure basically Dan Jurgens probably did it as basically a nod to Stan Man Lee. Okay, Excelsior is one of Stan Lee's famous catchphrases, along with "Nuff said." And the Crew of the Excelsior is DC stand-in for Fantastic Four, where it crashes, and so Stevens becomes like a version of the Human Torch. It becomes this weird creature. His wife Terry comes. I'm not sure what he does. Like apparently he's radioactive. That can't be good. And then apparently their friend Jim becomes this creature. Yeah. Does his wife go invisible? No. So then Clark meets Lucy for the first time. Yep. Meets Lois' sister. Yeah, and of course, basically, Perry's wife, Alice, is like blocked very much at this point. So, the DC Fantastic Four does whatever the heck they want. And then while it's talking to Hank Henshaw, his face starts melting. Yes. To this, like, what in the world happened to him? And of course, yeah, his wife does go invisible. Yeah, and this leads to Hank Henshaw becoming a cyborg. Yeah. The issue itself is completely unrelated, but they threw it in here. Now, as for this action, because this actually is a prelude to Dark Knight Metropolis, where this is where Clark basically starts dating Lois, and then he gets called out to deal with other people, and of course, takes a bum. Actually, it takes out like basically a shoplifter, and we see various stuff going on here. Oh yeah, also Bruno Magnum is main villain of the storyline. Yes, Bruno Magnum. Those of you not familiar with this guy, he is a Jack Kirby character. Yeah, he's a gangster, works for Intergang. And then we get references to John Byrne's Superman, where this female scientist makes this computer, finds out Superman's identity in issue 3 of Superman Volume 2. Like, sees, like, Clark Kent's Superman. And she's like, nah, this thing's broken. Fires the woman and basically has her thrown out. Yeah, and also he apparently got his hand chopped off because he wore the kryptonite ring too much. It basically gave have his hand falling apart. He had to chop his own hand off in order to save his own life. It's where Clark finds out the kryptonite ring. And this woman finds out he's Superman. And then he passes out. Of course, she's killed, but then he wakes up like, oh, he's slipping in the rain. And then she gets killed randomly by some thugs. Yep. And that's a prelude to Dark Knight Metropolis. Plus, I love this cover artwork. It's so good. Yeah. And the first part is from Superman, Volume 2, Issue 44. Yep. Or Batman is going to Metropolis. Now, you could say this particular 3-parter was loosely adapted for the World's Finest crossover because it's Batman going to Metropolis because he has a business arrangement. At least that one, he has basically a deal with Lex Luthor. This one is different. So we deal with this people with Intergang. The Intergang's involved. Of course, they deal with Superman deals with some people. And then, of course, he gets buzzed by Emil Hamilton about people. Yes, Emil Hamilton. And investigate the kryptonite stuff that he has there. Batman shows up, and of course, he's looking for somebody. Then we see Lex, who's running a rewards banquet. And you see him with a gloved hand. Yeah, that hand is a cybernetic hand because basically that was from kryptonite radiation. And of course, then he does some more research because he's still a scientist. Then we have these aliens that work with Bruno Magnum. The whole thing Intergang, and of course Batman gets called to go to Metropolis. Though in this comic it's due to a invite to a Warriors banquet, which he decides to go anyways. And yeah, and then of course, here's a little fun fact about the story. This is the story where Batman gets the green kryptonite ring he has in modern day. This is the story where he gets it. Yep. Yes, he does. You're like, really? Yeah, he does. And Batman set me up in part 2 of the story. Of course, you have Gangbuster. You could definitely tell this is the way it's written here. This is definitely officially a Superman story guest starring Batman. It's not a Superman. It's not basically a Batman story written to be It's not the opposite where it just. It's clearly a Superman comic, but he's a guest star in his own comic. This is basically the complete opposite of that. Yeah, and then of course you have where Lex basically remembers, he saved his life, and then apparently basically pays a favor. And then he hides, and then of course you have Bruce hiding Lois behind bushes. He's like pushing her, just setting her down, while Clark changes. Superman beats up bad guys. Yeah, and this whole thing is also with Kat Grant in the story, who wrote an expose on Intergang, And Educated didn't like that very much, so they wanted to basically brainwash her. Yes, seriously. Also, Gangbusters got a thing for Cat Grant. Yep. Yeah, it's not building this story, but Cat Grant's got a kid. She's got a son named Adam, who gets killed by Toy Man in a one-shot. Thank you, who wrote that one-shot. What a jerk you are. Kill off a freaking child. Yeah, and the way it's like written since then, like every time Cat Grant sees a Toy Man, she wants to murder him for killing her son. Oh, and what's way she agrees for this? Why make herself sexual and try to seduce Clark Kent to sound like he's happily married. Yep. But this story is just a lot of fun. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a damn good story. And of course, they start becoming friends with this story. And we have Superman show up in the Batcave, and well, he of course, Superman agrees that yeah, Batman should keep the ring to keep him on a short leash, just in case he goes bad. Just have it basically as a just in case measure. So the whole thing of him having the Kryptonite ring, that was Superman's idea. But damn good book. I give it a 10 out of 10. Next up we have is Annihilation Conquest Book 2, which collects these fine books. Excuse me. Nova, Volume 4. Issues, I think it's like 4 through 6, I believe it is. Yeah, 4 through 6. It also contains Annihilation Conquest Wrath and Annihilation Conquest miniseries. The Notebook Annihilation Conquest is written by Dan Abnett and Annie Lenning. The Notebook is done by Sean Chen and Scott Hanna with Brian Durkin. Conquest is Dan Abnett and Annie Lenning with Tom Rooney in the artwork and with Winston Ives. Wrath is written by Javier Grillo-Marxauch, and Kyle Holtz in the artwork. The Notebook is mostly about Nova, basically dealing with going back to space, because the first few issues of this book, he's on Earth, and he finds out about Civil War 1. And of course, he deals with Kree sentries. So, yeah, basically what happened here is that the Phalanx have taken over and have been conquered by the Kree, and Gamora is possessed by the Phalanx. Yep. So, okay. So, yeah, basically at one point, he gets knocked out, and then we have this Kree woman who basically becomes a new Nova at the end of issue 4, and then pretty much Rich Ray is basically put out of action, and her job is sent by the World Mind to protect him. He's like in a coma, and then Gamora finds him, and he becomes a Phalanx. Yeah. Though by the end of this 3-parter, he does get cured. Also, Drax is here as well. Also, the way the arc is like, ooh, let's have basically Rich Ray try to basically be smooching Gamora's neck because, well, Gamora and him had a thing for each other during Annihilation. So, absolutely really good here. And, oh yeah, wraps up issue 7. So, he gets cured by, I think, by issue 7. And then, well, the story continues in Annihilation Conquest. And then we move on to the Wrath. Now, Wrath, this is a brand new character who... Anyways, moving on. So, Wrath is a fairly new character who later gets killed off in King in Black. Yeah, he only did this mini-series, makes 2 more appearances after this, and that's it for him, sadly. Yeah, that's the weird thing about Wrath, is that he does not appear very much in comics. Not really. Do not know the reason why this is. It is just a bit weird. Though this guy, anyway, is basically, like, he made his first appearance in the first issue of this very book. He actually died in Web of Venom, Wrath. He made his first appearance actually as a Vision, and his full appearance was this very mini series. He's basically a Kree who's a host to a symbiote. That's mostly put exactly what he is. It's basically his origin. It's basically him, what he was up to prior. Basically, and also we also have it where Super Skull and Ronan the Accuser in this mini series as well as like villains. Also, it's revealed that he killed the Supreme Intelligence during the events of Annihilation, but he's back here. Yeah, what I think about Supreme Intelligence, he keeps dying, coming back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, currently he's merged with Vox Supreme. Yep. And then we move on to the mini series, which is basically the thing we talk about here. Yeah, where the heroes of this book are Quasar, Moondragon, and Warlock, who's been awakened prematurely. Super Skull, Wrath, Ronin, Ren Raven, who first appeared in the Wrath miniseries, and then like Wrath of the Wrath thing wrapped up. She appeared now in Conquest. One issue Nova, and she gets killed off at the end of Realm Kings Inhumans. Yeah, so she seeks out the High Evolutionary, and then like they reveal who's in charge of the Parallax, and it's somebody who you're like, really? And I'm like, how the heck would the villain of this book even know who she is? Because he apparently does know. So we reveal who's responsible for unleashing the Parallax. It's revealed at the end of issue 1 that the leader of the Parallax is... By the way, Zemu's here as well. Yeah, Zemu, the old Hulk villain, who actually was the Defender's villain. So, yeah, the person responsible for this is none other than... Oh, by the way, cool visual here with High Evolutionary. Yeah, because, well, the whole thing... And then reveal who's responsible for this. It's Ultron. Now, first question I ask. How the heck he in space? I thought he was an Earth-based robot. Well, there is an explanation for this. He was punched into space by the Century in the pages of Mighty Avengers. This actually was his very next appearance after this. You're like, what? Yeah. Seriously, it's like, what? Like, oh, by the way, they kill off a member of the Parallax in its opening issue. They kill off Kurl the Pursuer. Well, supposedly kill off Kurl the Pursuer. But he's alive. Yeah, Ultron. Yeah, like I got shoved into space. I remember he got punched really hard by the Century and then... Excuse me. And then he just goes off to space. Which seems so odd, but it's true. Yeah, he previously appeared in Mighty Avengers number 6. And at the end of that story arc, he's supposed to, he dies. But nope. He pops up in Annihilation Conquest. Yeah, so that's pretty much what they do with him, is that he gets shoved over this book. And he's basically the main villain of this book until he pops up in another book. Yeah, so there's a lot of big brawl going on here. There are some deaths per se throughout this whole mini-series. They do call presumably per of the pursuer, but he basically comes back in a later book. Korathi, that is in issue 1. Now, after issue 1, there's no deaths until, for quite a while. They suppose they kill off Captain Universe, the Gable Fergus version. Yeah, he gets killed off in this thing. He does not come back, but Moondragon does. Oh yeah, Moondragon does. Yeah, she later returns in Guardians of the Galaxy. Yep. And of course, they die in issue 3, halfway through this book. Also, I Am Warlock becomes basically looks like as Magnus becomes more involved. Yeah, and then of course, by the final issue of this book, Ultron is destroyed, though he pops up Mighty Avengers after this. Though they also kill off a woman named Pexagora. Yeah, who debuted in the Super Skrull miniseries for Annihilation. Yep. Yeah, she worked for Super Skrull, and then basically she gets killed off here. And she never comes back. Yeah. And it's like, oh, we have the coming together of a big superhero team. And the team after this, well, the story will later continue in the pages of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Number 1. Yep, because of this very event, Peter Quill is basically, he's given a pardon for his previous crimes. And they'll be able to help them take down the Parallax. And basically this led to the formation of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Which the purpose of them was basically big climactic events like this one. Nova himself continues his own solo book afterwards. But you're like, okay, so what happens to the rest of the characters? Like, we know we have debut of the Guardians of the Galaxy pretty much right after this one. Did the Parallax actually return after this storyline? If you really want to answer to that, they don't. They never return after this. Also, Warlock gets involved in the story. Yes, Warlock. Yeah, so after the story wraps up, they practically do anything until they, well, some species anyways. They're not really a big threat to the Marvel Universe. They're basically here as they're represented by Warlock and Magnus. But Ultron himself will come back to set up an Ultron reality story a few years later, that basically the story being Age of Ultron. Yep. That's most of it. He comes in the body of like a space knight. By the way, at the end of the last issue, we see the video of Cheltic, who just here for this one issue, and that's pretty much it for him. But what happens to the characters here, per se? Well, in the case of the female Nova, who appeared in issue number 5, does she return after this? Ko-Rel. She gets killed off in issue 6. It's like she's briefly basically a Centaurian. She's around just for a few issues, and then she dies. Yeah, she's here because Richard Rider became evil, and she gets killed by Richard Rider, who's possessed. Yeah. Yeah, and then the story later continued the pages of Nova, which lead to more stuff related to Guardians of the Galaxy. But this Annihilation Conquest book was awesome. I give this book a 10 out of 10. Yep. So, if you didn't like, basically, Civil War 1, check out Annihilation. In the case of Annihilation Conquest, the only thing other big happened that year was World War Hulk. That was still pretty interesting. But check out both books. They're amazing. I like Annihilation, which took up, 4 volumes of books. This one, not very much, surprisingly. Only 2 books, and that was it. Yeah, so that's going to be pretty much it for particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not hit the dislike button. Next up, Tushimanshi Moonlight Fantasy. Okay? Next video. Bye.